Welcome back. Today's book is going to be The Truth About Forever by Sarah Dessen, because we are on our Sarah Dessen roll. And I'm gonna be honest, I have my notes and I wrote them down probably 2 weeks ago. And I finished the book maybe 2 weeks before that. So we will absolutely find out what kind of review this is, but we're gonna get through it. I will say that I enjoyed this one. I've been a little let down by my rereading of Sarah Dessen's novels. I think it's mainly because I'm older, and two, I'm reading them in succession. So all of her formulaic plot devices, plot lines, and characterizations are a bit more obvious. But I did like this one. I thought she had more charismatic and relatable characters. And I thought the plot was better developed, just a little bit more emotional for me. Which review was it? The Someone Like You, I think it was, where I talked about the last name Queen. This is where the Queen comes into play, and we meet Macy Queen, and her mother, Deborah Queen, owns Queen homes, which we will see scattered throughout other novels. But this is when I was like, is this character from this very first novel related to these queens? Because Dessen doesn't usually not have things tied together. But that was her first novel. Maybe by this point she'd forgotten that she had already given someone the last name Queen. It's honestly neither here nor there, but if you saw that review, I just wanted to tie things together for you. And the deal with Macy is that a year prior, her father had died of a heart attack and she had been the one to find him. This naturally affected herself as well as her family. It affected her interests, it affected her personality, which then had an effect on what happened in her future. And what that was she was super withdrawn, and she kind of just not gave up on the world, but disengaged from the world. The first person that she encountered who had any effect on her, brought her out of that, really took the time to invest in her, was Jason. And Jason is also someone you will see scattered throughout these novels. He is one of those brainiacs who could care less about other people. His sole focus is on himself and his academics and his future. Thankfully, we do see that he has made a change in the future, but for this novel, he's kind of a jerk. She's dating him. He goes off to camp for the summer and leaves her his library job, which she absolutely hates. And while she is working that job, she encounters a catering crew from Wish Catering, who is a hot mess express. She ends up joining them, and that curbs the rest of her summer and kind of brings her back out of her shell. Her shell. We have Macy Queen, Deborah Queen, Caroline, who is Macy's older sister, Jason Talbot, who is the Jason. Then we have Amanda and Bethany, who are the other two girls who work at the info desk at the library with Jason. They absolutely hate Macy. I both loved and hated that because they were very one-dimensional characters, and so I loved that one-dimensionality. Sometimes can't someone just be mean without any reasoning? But at the same time, I did need some reasoning. Like at this point in my reading career, it wasn't enough to know that Macy didn't think that they liked her. With context, she is right. There's nothing that says these girls' actions are all in Macy's head. But I wanted to know why. My reasoning is that they liked Jason, like they had some sort of crush and they were jealous of Macy. Something that you're given in the novel is they just don't think she's good enough for Jason. She's not smart enough for Jason. She's not driven enough for Jason. So why would Jason be with her? Naturally, why would he then hoist her off on them for the summer to do a job they don't think she's qualified to do? I loved and hated them. We also have the Wish crew. So there's Delia, who owns Wish Catering. She had been in business with her sister, Melissa, or Wish. Wish had died a number of years previously, and she had left two sons, Wes and Bert, who also work for Wish Catering. And then we have Monica and Christy, who they are sisters, and they just live in the same acreage as Delia and then Wes and Bert. That's our cast and crew. I really enjoyed Wes. He was the love interest. What I think endeared me to him or to them was that she's with Jason. Even though we can tell things are crumbling, even though I, in particular, I'm like, girl, just wise up. You are a smart girl. You might not be as smart as him, but you're an intelligent female. Why are you putting up with all this crap? Even though they're having troubles and they are apart, and she obviously is feeling something for Wes, she respects herself and her relationship enough not to go there with Wes. And same with Wes. He does have a girlfriend. Little background, little spoiler on him. Not really spoilery, but because I haven't actually gotten into the novel, it's a spoiler. He had gotten into some legal trouble, and at one point he had gone to like a juvenile detention center. He had met this girl named Becky, and they are technically dating, even though she is still there and he's out, and they don't have a lot of contact. I liked how he, even though this is very tropish and stereotypical, he's that really hot guy who doesn't really know he's hot and has a heart of gold and is capable of so much more than someone who looks like him and has the past that he has should or could or would be capable of. But I loved that we saw these two develop a friendship. You get the sense that Wes reciprocates her feelings, but again, we're not jumping into something when we shouldn't be jumping into it. So I loved the image I had of him in my head, both as a person and physically. The respect that he has for her was appealing for me as well. In some ways, it was incredibly unsatisfying because I was like, when are we gonna get to it already? But he so far has been my favorite. I feel like their relationship was very natural and I understood where they were coming from. There's the book, The Moon and More. I will never, ever, ever understand. Excuse me, I got a haircut and she cut it differently. So instead of like having a straight up part, it's kind of tussly. And it technically is now parted on this side, and I keep trying to part it that way because that's what I'm used to, but then it doesn't actually look good with the part. So if I'm playing with my hair, it's because I'm still getting used to it. With The Moon and More, I will never, ever, ever understand that relationship because there was no foundation. There's no reason that those two should have gotten together, even stayed together, but whatever. That is what it is. Let's jump into it. We meet Macy. I guess at this point, a year after her father's death, she's known as the girl who found her father dead. She had been a runner. He had been a runner. That was something that they had done together. And this particular morning, it was Christmas morning, or day before Christmas, day after Christmas, she was just like, not waking up at the crack of dawn, you go on ahead. She changes her mind. By the time she catches up with him, he has already collapsed. And the thing here is, she is classified as the girl who found her father. And in my head, she got to the bottom of the driveway and that's where he was. When in fact, he was much further away and there was already somebody there who was trying to resuscitate and or help him. It's like, she didn't actually find him. Technically, you could say she's the only person who knew him that found him. She was the daughter of the two daughters that found him. But was she really the girl who found him dead? No. She quits everything that makes her interesting because we get character arc. I will put up with it. I just in general do not like a character who has no personality, but I do understand in circumstances like this why she doesn't have a personality, just because she's so distraught that she finds no interest in people, in activities, in who she used to be, in what she could be. But This is when we start to learn the background with her and Jason, how they'd been put in a group together. The third member of their group was like, I'm out of here, I'm not doing any work, and she figured that he expected her to be the same way. But then when he starts talking to her and she admits she has no idea, because they're doing Shakespeare, and she's like, I don't get it, I don't understand what he's saying. He takes the time to explain things to her, and she felt appreciated and seen, like she wasn't being judged. So we get into how they're in this relationship. I understand why she clung to him, but he doesn't sound like a very invested boyfriend. And given what eventually happens, it doesn't really seem like he considers himself her boyfriend at all, or that he considers her his girlfriend. Does he even like her? I couldn't tell you, because he's that detached. At what point did she believe that they were together? We get the background of him as well as herself. We learn that Caroline was that sister who went out all the time. She disobeyed the rules. She was just a bad girl. Then she goes to college and she meets a much older man. They get married and she finds herself, which wasn't really what I was expecting. I was expecting her to get married and be completely miserable, but somehow she turns her life around because of their relationship. Now she's an interior designer, I believe. They, as in Macy and her mother, live in Lakeview. They have a beach house in Colby, so, bringing all those things full circle. Caroline lives in Atlanta. During this novel, she commutes back and forth because she decides, I'm going to renovate this beach house, because Macy, this bothered me slightly, where she internalized everything. And then her mother seems really cold and distant, but Macy does make an observation at one point where her mother seems to be open with Caroline about things, and they're able to connect and bond over their shared trauma. Yet, because Macy did not take advantage of that while she could, she feels like she has no ability to be open with her mother about her feelings, and that her mother has different expectations for her. I don't know. I don't feel like the mother at all cared to discuss things and that she's had any healing. But this is something that Caroline has observed, that their mother is making Macy miserable because she will not let Macy move on or do what needs to be done to heal. And she demands more of Macy than is appropriate for what Macy is going through. Her whole idea is, I'm going to restore this beach house so that it's a place that we can go and we can be a family and we can heal. But we'll get into that later. The major subplot with Macy's mom is that she is a successful builder. It had actually been the father's business. She had come in as the accountant, made things better. They had fallen in love. And now that he's gone, she's taken over and expanded it. And at this point, she is expanding into townhomes. She's going to be building luxury townhomes. So this entire novel, she is preoccupied with making sure these townhomes are built and they're ready, and that she has this big party she's going to throw in order to show these things off and get buyers, get investors. This also throws a wrench in the mix, because Caroline says the beach house is going to be done at this date. Is this an okay date for you guys? And you know, as soon as the mother says yes, that just like all these other books, she's going to turn around and say, why did I would have never agreed to that. Like, why? This would have been a terrible date for me. So on that note, again, it was one of those things from Dessen that you come to expect. While sometimes I do enjoy knowing what I'm getting, I would love to see her depart from certain parts of her formula so that I can be surprised, a bit more engaged, because it doesn't feel like every other novel. Anywho, the mother, she's planning this whole thing. We meet the Wish Catering crew because she's having another business event and they come in to do the catering. As I said, they are a hot mess. Macy is sent out to talk to them because things are not going well, and she'd already encountered them earlier and brought things in, but now she has to go and talk to Delia about mom's not happy. And of course, Delia already knows. And I really enjoy Delia at this moment. It's not until later when we learn why this catering business is such a mess. She says, well, Wish, so it's like Delia is the one that can cook, because everybody raves about the food. They just don't rave about the service. So Wish was the backbone. She's the one that kept things in line, and without her, they are what they are. But Delia's not willing to change that because she feels like if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Me with my adult brain is now saying such a terrible business model and way to approach your livelihood. And that's when I was like, Delia is just like every other teenage character in this novel. She didn't feel like a voice of reason. At first I thought she was going to be that substitute mother figure because Deborah is not invested in Macy at all. And while Delia does have those pearls of wisdom and she does step in motherly ways, she doesn't feel like a responsible adult for me. She is 9 months pregnant, so that has a lot to go into what's happening here as well. Macy, she helps him out a little bit. She's trying to talk to Delia. They need help. She continues to help. Then her mother comes in and she's like, what's going on? Why are you helping them? But Delia offers her, she's like, look, thank you so much. If you ever need a job, just let me know. And Macy in her head is like, never gonna happen. But for some reason, her mouth says, sure, maybe, I'll think about it. Everything does what it does. She's watching them all leave from her window, and she's like, you know what? I think I really want to do that. She doesn't really take them up on it yet, but she has begun her job at the help desk, and Bethany and Amanda treat her like a second-class citizen. They don't let her help anybody, except for with things that they think are beneath them. She tries to go to Jason with this, and of course he's not empathetic, he's not sympathetic, he thinks she's just being dramatic, and he's like, don't let social issues get in the way of what you're supposed to be doing there. He has all these demands of her. He needs to know all this information. He wants her to send him all these documents, and it's just like, girl, if you are so miserable, why are you doing this? But of course her mother thinks it's amazing. Maybe I can excuse that because Macy, I don't think, has truly divulged the breadth and the width of her feelings and her experiences and all this to her mother. So of course her mother's going to support something that she feels like will help Macy excel and that she assumes Macy's enjoying. Macy eventually sends Jason an email, and remember when I said he's completely detached? She ends it with, I love you. This freaks him out. He's like, you're trying to take things too fast. It's been about a year. Yeah. Anyone with sense knows that she's not taking it too fast. She was already uncertain if she should, but she was like, well, why not? This is how I feel, which goes back to my confusion as to why does she feel this way when he doesn't show her any kind of affection and he seems really cold. You know what? I guess it's kind of like Stockholm Syndrome. Like, she attached herself to him and she's convinced herself, it's abusive relationship where you can't see the forest through the trees, or you think they love you even though they treat you like this, but still, because they do these things, they must love me. I guess that's an interesting dynamic, but it was very frustrating for me. He breaks up with her in this email, or maybe he's not really breaks up, but he's like, I think we need to take a break and rethink things. At this point is when she runs across Wish Catering again, and she says, hey, let me help you out. When she had first encountered them, Christy was not there, but we met Monica, who I kind of like her, I kind of don't. She has no characterization. She has no depth, but she is nicknamed monotone because no inflection. She only says 2 or 3 phrases, like a handful of words over, like she doesn't have an actual conversation. She's very slow, she's very clumsy. And so from all of these characteristics, I cannot for the life of me figure out why she's part of this Wish Catering crew, because everybody comments on the fact that she's not good at this job. On top of that, if she's not a conversationalist, where is the appeal in her? We then meet Christy, her sister. The first thing we notice about Christy, one, she's night and day from Monica in her looks, in the way she presents herself, in her personality. But we notice she's very beautiful, super fashionable, but she has scars on her face. She had been in an accident when she was a child. This accident forced her to have many, many surgeries, and she'd had to shave her head for a while, and this is why she is so infatuated with her hair, because she had been bald and she was like, I never want to take this for granted again. So Christy is super bubbly, but she does notice there's something off with Macy, which we don't learn till later. Macy is quite good at this job. She's got a natural sense for how to do things. She gets along with the others, but what they always do is every time they work together, they do something social. Christy always invites Macy, who always says no because she has to study. She is very type A. So it's like, this is how my daily schedule is planned out. So this is Wednesday. This is what I need to be doing. No, I won't go with you. Another subplot is that Bert, he's getting his license. So all he wants to do is drive, and nobody will let him drive. It's not necessarily because he's a bad driver, but apparently he drives like a grandpa. He gets his license and he gets his car and he rolls up, and it was supposed to be, I guess, his uncle's old mobile, but instead he got a great deal on a defunct ambulance, which he terms the Bertmobile, the quirk, right? Eventually, Macy's like, yeah, I will come. She ends up at a bonfire with all these other people. She does encounter a girl that she goes to school with and used to run track with, and this girl kind of not necessarily was insensitive, but she does bring up the dad, and this is not information that Macy had shared with the others. Also, during this time is when she kind of got to spend time with Wes for the first time, because he was somewhat intimidating to her, because he was really handsome and she just didn't know what to say around him. But because he had a girlfriend and she, yes, had a boyfriend, but she also wasn't into being that social, they would end up just sitting together on a tailgate or whatever and talking, getting to know each other while the others did what they did. And this is where they started playing the game called Truth. And it's a game she used to play with Caroline. You have to ask a truth, and the other person has got to answer, and if they don't answer, they lose. So I did enjoy this too. We didn't get to see all of their truth sessions, but I loved the way that Dessen incorporated this so that we could get to know both of them in a very organic way. At some point, Macy has got to go to Delia's house to help her prepare some things for an event. She gets lost getting there because it's a lot of back roads. She's directed by Christy and Monica's grandmother to the right road, and then when she's on this road, she gets distracted by this massive sculpture, and because she gets distracted by it, she does end up in the pothole, which again is one of those things that Delia refuses to have filled in because it's there for a reason. And to me, I'm like, my shocks, tires, suspension, all of these parts of my car, I would really enjoy them to stay intact. Her philosophy in life doesn't jive with me. You read the book, you tell me what you think. Wes had created this sculpture. He takes metal work and he puts them together. He is best known for the heart and the hand, which is a hand and forgive me, it's been a minute. I believe it's like a hand, and then the middle of the hand is empty, and there's a heart that can turn around. But this sculpture is more of an angel idea. So she was like, wow, dude, this guy's got some talent. Because he kind of sells at farmers markets. This is how Caroline is introduced to it, and Caroline is just obsessed. And because Caroline has connections, you get the idea that he's really gonna be something big. That happens, she helps, she learns Wes's hidden talent. Fast forward, they have an event, and Bert is a doomsdayer. He's all about the end of times. Things ran late, so he is not gonna make it home in time to watch this special documentary. They're gonna drop Macy off, and she's like, well, if you want, you can just come into my house and you can watch it at my house. And Delia's like, thank goodness, because this baby is sitting on my bladder and I need to use the bathroom. Doesn't seem like anybody's home, but wouldn't you know it, her mom is home. She's been hiding away in the office. When she comes out, she is none too pleased to see these people who she disapproves of in her living room watching this show. She does hear something about how Wes had gone to juvenile detention. She judges Christy based off her scars, and so she then says, look, I don't want you hanging out with them. You need to get them out of this house. Mothers in Sarah Dessen's book tend to be cold, unfeeling, judgmental, snobbish. They think a lot more of themselves than they should. They tend to be wealthy, driven women who cannot understand other people's plights. That was frustrating for me because, of course, then the daughter, who in this case is Macy, they never stand up for themselves. They never stand up for their friends. They're just cowed, and even though in their head they're talking back, they're protesting, like they don't actually do anything. Deborah thinks that Macy's not putting enough work into this info desk. Then there's a moment where she's at the info desk. She's absolutely hating it. Wes walks in. Bethany and Amanda are like, we've got this. You don't need to be a part of it. And Wes is like, pretty sure this is an answer only Macy can give me. And they're like, oh, no. She doesn't know anything. Let us help you. He just wants to know where some serving spoons were. From here, Jason is supposed to be coming. His grandmother is sick, so he's coming home from brain camp. And everybody is on tenterhooks waiting for him to arrive. But Macy's like, you know what? I've had enough. She completely blows off the rest of her shift and she quits the info desk. This event that she's helping cater is the first instance in which everything seems to go well. Delia, of course, foreshadows the fact that something will go wrong because she keeps saying something will go wrong. And what happens is her water breaks. Macy was supposed to help out at a community event. She never shows up and she doesn't call her mom. And for me, this was frustrating because I'm like, how hard is it to just send your mother a text and be like, Delia's water broke, going to the hospital, might be late, whatever, instead of not communicating at all and then getting in deep doo-doo, which we know is what's going to happen. There's a lot of miscommunication in Sarah Dessen. There's all that miscommunication in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So the miscommunication trope drives me crazy, especially for a girl like Macy who is smart enough to know better and to do better. It's not like she and her mother are on bad terms and she can't text her mom out of pride. But yes, because of this, her mother is furious and bans her from having anything to do with Wish Catering. Because she refuses to go back to the library, she has to work and help her mother. Her mother's like, you are gonna have no life, you will work for me, you will come home. And Macy is absolutely miserable. And this is when Caroline shows up and they have that whole thing of, well, you told me that we could spend this weekend at the beach house together. There was a moment where Macy asks Wes What would you do if you could do anything? He refuses to answer this question. They kind of keep addending the rules to this game. He's like, I didn't say no, I just said I didn't want to answer yet. To be honest, I didn't write this part down, and I don't remember the exact details, but because of his delay of game, she gets really insecure about how he feels about her and what's going on with them. And then because she is no longer part of the Wish crew, the chasm widens. Jason, as I said, he had come home, but now he comes home again and he wants to reconcile with her. And he's like, look, I think we just need to be clearer about what we want. And she's like, I don't think so. She had an opportunity to talk to Wes and she didn't. But now she's like, I'm gonna go find him. I made a mistake. And she encounters him with Becky at the World of Waffles. And she assumes that they're back together. Things happen. When the event happens for her mother, everything goes wrong. A storm rolls in, ruining the setup outside, forcing them inside. Everybody pulls out. So the only person that she can get to work her event is Wish. At which point, Christy tells Macy he broke up with Becky. Why can't you two get on the same page? Macy then finds him and she's like, look, I haven't won the game until you ask me the same question and I answer it. To which she kisses him. They end up together. The family is healing happily ever after. Thankfully, there's actually more to this review because I was like, wow, that really ended weakly. Two things. Macy does start running again, and we see that she and Wes will go to the World of Waffles after their run, which this is the only part of her personality or her journey that I wish we could have developed sooner, is that she had started running sooner and they had established this tradition of running and going to World of Waffles. Because we get little snippets of the running thing, and then we realize it's important because it was something she shared with her dad, which is why she quit, because when he died, we all get it. It's introduced early on that Wes is a runner, and he kind of challenges her to run with him, and she never does. So I would have liked to have seen that as part of their relationship, of maybe that's also where they continue their game of truth, is on their runs. And she begins healing, and we're seeing that because she's running and she's getting more into it. And then we see them going to World of Waffles. Instead, it just was dropped in at the end of the novel. And because her running with him wasn't prevalent, it felt like it came out of nowhere, even though we had those tidbits of he runs, she used to run. We know that when she does start running again, it means she's better, or she's on the road to being better. Anywho, the subplot, which ties into the whole Christmas death thing, was that her dad had said, I've got a gift for you. It's the perfect gift. It's just not here yet. Throughout this journey of hers, she's like, oh, well, maybe this is my dad's gift. It's a metaphorical gift. No, it was an actual gift, and the gift was a miniature heart and hand that Wes had made, which brings things full circle. Her dad had discovered this, and now that she's part of it too, it brings them back together. And so I really enjoyed that part. But in that same vein, her dad, like so many Dessen characters, was quirky. One of his quirks was that he would spend obscene amount of money on nighttime television where they sold gadgets and whatnot. And because he was such a high flyer or high buyer, he got put into this monthly program where they would send him these items. Even though they canceled it after he died, for some reason, they kept receiving these boxes. When her mother purged the house of anything that had to do with her dad, she found a box of this stuff and she was like, I'm keeping that. And then every time a new box comes, she would take it before anybody could find it and she would hoard it. It continued to pop up, but something about it bothered me. Something about it annoyed me. And it's probably because these gadgets were worthless. They were functionless. Yet we kept receiving them and we kept having a big deal made out of them, but none of them actually came into play in this novel. I found myself getting annoyed by this and I felt like sharing it with you. Anyways, that is the end of the novel. Oh, I do apologize again. It's not my best review. I've just been so busy and tired. Let me know what you think. Again, what's your favorite Sarah Dessen novel? What do you love in novels like this? Do you have any recommendations for me of like young adult, kind of summer romance, chick lit kind of deal where it's like a refresh? And there we are, and I will see you tomorrow for another one. Bye.